So what is a lung nodule? Lung nodule is a rounded, well circumscribed opacity seen on a CT scan or a chest X-ray, measures less than 3 centimeter in average diameter. And what is a lung mass? A lung mass is basically ill-defined, irregular mass lesion seen on a CT scan or a chest X-ray again, and measuring more than 3 centimeter in average diameter. So when we look at the size-based classification, we know what is a nodule and a mass. There's something known as a micronodule, which measures about less than 6 millimeters in dimension. Now, these nodules have shapes and margins. Shapes can vary from round to ovoid, polygonal, spherical, flat, elongated configurations. Now, margins can be well defined or ill defined. There can be smooth borders or irregular borders. Look at these CT cuts with a mass lesion with spiculated borders. There's a pleural tag, which is basically a line which extends from the nodule to the pleura. So, generally these features are more suggestive of your nodule being malignant. Usually, it is thought that if the margins are smooth, if the borders are smooth, then it is mostly a benign nodule. It is not necessary. In about 20 to 30% of patients, it can be a malignant nodule as well. So don't jump to conclusions. Always remember your clinical history and presentation and then further proceed. Then there is something known as attenuation and structural types of the nodule. So a nodule can be a solid nodule, which has a uniform soft tissue attenuation, then a ground glass, which is a pure ground glass, and then part solid nodule, which is a combination of basically a solid and ground glass. Now you can see these CT cuts showing you ground glass, part solid nodules. Structural classification basically depends upon the nodule having components. So a simple nodule would have a single component like soft tissue or ground glassing or calcium or fat, and a complex would have more than two components at the same time. Now, when you have a nodule, there is a criteria, there are specifics that you follow for it to be benign. Now, there's something known as calcification within the nodule. If the calcification is diffuse, central, laminated, or popcorn, these are generally seen in granulomatous diseases and hematomas. These patterns of calcification are mostly seen in a benign nodule. However, if your patient does have a primary tumor, then there can be an exception in that particular patient, and this has been seen in malignancies like osteosarcoma and chondrosarcoma. So remember that if the calcification is diffuse, central, laminated, or popcorn, it is a benign nodule. And look at this CT cut, which is showing you a benign nodule with calcification. Then contrast enhancement, which when less than 15 Hounsfield unit is very predictive for the nodule being benign, high predictive value of 99%. Then after you have seen the calcification and absence of enhancement, what are the other criteria for your nodule to be benign? It's the absence of uptake on PET, that is less than 2.5 SUV, no growth in 2 years, and absence of risk factors. These criteria together are your criteria for your nodule to be benign. Now, there's another concept of doubling time. Often, when you look at the name, you think it is the size which is doubled. It's actually the time required for a nodule to double in volume, which can indicate the likelihood of malignancy, basically. And when a lung nodule doubles in volume, its diameter is what increases by approximately 26%. So, example, if you had a nodule with a diameter of 10 millimeters, then it would need to grow around 12.6 millimeter to double in volume. And this basically suggests, like, if the doubling volume is less than a year's time, it's most likely to be malignant in a high risk patient. Of course, there are times when there are infections and granulomas and other things which can also increase in size, but then with the typical history, risk factors, and patient profile, doubling time can be significant and can guide you. Then when we talk about the risk of malignancy, why this is important to know is because then you need to know about your follow-ups for your nodules. So high probability is in patients who are older age, have been heavy smokers, prior history of cancer, larger size of the nodule, irregular margins, upper lobe predominance. And low probability would be a younger person with less or no history of smoking, no prior cancer history, smaller nodular size, regular margins, and non-upper lobe. So an intermediate would be a combination and mixture of both the high and low probability features. Now, based on location, also there's a terminology based on which you can define your nodules, which can be peribronchovascular, centrilobular when they are predominantly in the center of your secondary lobule, fissural arising from the fissure, and perifissural is which is in contact with the fissure. Then pleural, which arises from the fissure, and pleural based is in contact with the fissure. This is just a terminology to basically based on the location. Subpleural is also another thing, but this is in no direct contact with the pleura. It's near the pleura, so you can even use the word peripheral for these nodules which are in close contact near the pleura. Now, what is essential in interpreting a nodule? You need to remember that for a small nodule characterization, you need a thin section of the CT. And when I say thin, the slice has to be less than 1.5 mm. Because a small solid nodule may appear to have ground glass density on a thick slice due to partial volume effect. Apart from this, the thin slice CT, we've talked about the descriptors which are used like solid, path solid, or ground glassing. It'll also depend upon the morphology to help assess the risk. And nodules can evolve over time from simple to complex, complex to simple. So now we've talked about the basics. Now, a little bit in more detail about the pulmonary nodule. Now, pulmonary nodule can be a solid nodule and can be a subsolid nodule. A subsolid nodule can be a part solid, can have ground glassing as well as a solid component to it, and it can be a pure ground glass nodule. So, when you talk about solid nodule per se, Fleischner guidelines have made it very easy. And, once you understand the follow-up, it is easier to understand what size do you really need to follow up and when. So, for a solid nodule on the scan, if it is more than 8 mm, and when I'm saying 8 mm, I'm talking about a single nodule first. A single nodule of more than 8 mm, that size generally triggers and, makes you think that the suspicion of malignancy in a characteristic patient with a history makes you think that the probability of malignancy is higher. So in this case, you should either doing a PET CT or biopsy at that same sitting, or consider a biopsy, consider a CT at 3 months for the follow-up. Similarly, for an 8 mm nodule, solid nodule, which are multiple. For a low risk patient and a high risk patient, initially a follow up at 3 to 6 months. And then for a high risk, more than 8 mm multiple nodules, you do a follow up at 18 to 24 months. Similarly, for a less than 6 mm solid nodule, for a single nodule, low or high risk, for a single or multiple low risk nodules, routinely no follow up is required. For a high risk, less than 6 mm, it's optional to do a CT at 12 months, depending upon the risk factors, the presentation, and the patient profile, of course. And in the size of 6 to 8 mm, when you talk about single nodules, whether it's low risk or high risk, the CT follow-up is generally at 6 to 12 months. And for a higher risk, you do it at 18 to 24 months again. Again, uh, multiple nodules are done a little earlier in the group of in the size of 6 to 8. So CT follow-up is done first at 3 to 6 months for high and low risk. And then again, for higher risk, you do again a follow-up at 18 to 24 months. I know this is too many months and too many follow-ups. So just to simplify it, as per the Fleischner guidelines, less than 6 mm, you can leave alone. 6 to 8 mm, follow up at 6 to 12 months, and then at 18 to 24 months. More than 8 mm, a single nodule, PET, CT, or biopsy in the same setting, or follow up at 3 months, and more than 8 mm multiple, follow up at 3 to 6 months, and then at 18 to 24 months. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about this. I'm really sorry about that disturbance. Then solid nodules can be of various etiologies. They can be benign granulomatous, they can be primary malignancies, they can be metastatic disease as well. Now we've talked about the solid nodule. Let's talk in brief about the subsolid nodule. So now subsolid nodule is a focal nodular area of increased attenuation through which normal parenchymal structures like your airways and septae can be identified. Now your subsolid nodule can be a part solid or can be a pure ground glass. Important for subsolid nodules is the transient and the persistent nodules. If you have a transient subsolid nodule, you need to remember that mostly these are generally representation of infection or alveolar hemorrhage. And these are the kind of nodules that you see in infections like aspergillus. And you should be able to differentiate between a transient and a persistent subsolid nodule, and follow-up CT should be maintained because they have a slow growing time. Initially it was mentioned that it was in the guidelines that you should do a follow-up CT at 3 months, but now because of the slow growth of these, the follow-up is after 12 months. Now look at this CT cut. You can see a small subsolid nodule, pure ground glass of 7 mm in the right upper lobe, and on follow-ups it has disappeared. So a transient nodule disappearing generally goes to tell you that it's a benign pathology. Similarly, for a persistent subsolid nodule, these are mostly associated with malignancies, more of adenocarcinomatous in origin. They have a slow growth rate, but they carry a very high malignancy potential. And you can look at this CT in the right lower lobe. In this cut of the CT in the right lower lobe, there's a small nodule, um, and on follow-up CT at 2 years, the size has significantly increased, and after resection, it was found to be malignant. So it is important to understand that subsolid nodules can be part solid, can be pure ground glass, they can be transient, which are usually infections or and persistent are usually malignant, and they are mostly associated with adenocarcinoma. Then for the follow-up of a subsolid nodule, for a ground glass and a part solid, which is less than 6 mm, small in size, no follow-up is required. For more than 6 mm ground glass, 6 to 12 months to confirm for persistence, and then at 3 and 5 years. Similarly, for part solid, 3 to 6 months to confirm persistence, and then annually for 5 years. For multiple nodules of less than 6 and more than 6, the first CT follow-up is at 3 to 6 months. Less than 6 mm, if it is stable, then at 2 and 4 years. And of course, if the size is more than the multiple nodules of more than 6 mm, then it will be based on the suspicion of the nodule and subsequent management plan. So to summarize again, single less than 6 mm subsolid nodule, you can leave it alone. Multiple less than 6 mm, follow up at 3 to 6 months and then at 2 and 4 years. Single or multiple more than 6 mm nodules, follow up at 3 to 6 months and then every year for 5 years. Now, you can measure the nodules as well, and Fleischner guidelines talk about 2D caliper manual measurements as well as 3D nodule volumetry. So manual 2D caliper measurements, it should be based on average long and short axis diameters of the nodule. When you're obtaining measurements, you need to see the nodule first. You need to obtain them in the greatest and the maximum diameter, the greatest dimensions, and they should be obtained same across the transverse coronal or the sagittal reconstructed image. Something about the part solid nodule. When you're measuring a part solid nodule, you need to remember that you need to measure it in its complete dimension as well as the solid part separately and then add together as per the measuring technique. So that is something that is a little additional about the part solid nodule, that you need to measure it in both the dimensions. Then there is another nodules, which is the periphyseal nodules, which generally represent intrapulmonary lymph nodes. They are solid, homogeneous, with a smooth margin, oval or rounded. Location is within 15 mm of the fissure of the pleura. May or may not have contact with the interlobar septum. Now, this is what differentiates a typical from an atypical periphyseal nodule, and they can have significant growth rates on serial imaging, sometimes even comparable to malignancy. But you need to remember that this is not a sign of malignancy. It can be because of its lymphatic origin. Now, this is, if you can see the picture here, and if you can see this CT cuts here, these show typical nodules which are in contact, very periphyseal. And guidelines also recommend that because when these small nodules have a periphyseal or other juxtapleural location and a morphology consistent with an intrapulmonary lymph node, they do not require a follow-up CT. Even if the average dimension exceeds 6 mm, even if the dimension is more, you do not require a follow-up CT in these periphyseal nodules. And if they do not conform to the morphological characteristics, they are regarded as non-periphyseal nodules. Again, as you can see on these CT cuts. Then we talked about in the classification about micronodules, which are less than 6 mm. When they are randomly distributed, uh, it is the miliary pattern. It is seen in various conditions, whether it's infections, malignancy, pneumoconiosis, hypersensitivity pneumonitis, miliary sarcoid, and if you diffuse pulmonary meningotheliomatosis. So various conditions they can be seen in. Now, lung mass is an shadow or an opacity which is seen, which is greater than 30 millimeter in average diameter, can have irregular margins, can be ill-defined. It is predominantly solid soft tissue structure, but it can be cavitatory, it can be cystic, can have calcified components to various degrees. Now, shape and margin descriptors we've already talked about. There can also be distortion and invasion. You can see that in these nodules there are spiculated margins, there are pleural tags. Similarly, even in this CT cut, you can see. So generally, spiculated margins, pleural tags are associated with lung mass, I mean, with the lung mass are associated with malignancy. Then size is a strong predictor of of malignancy, lung usually being the primary, but there are other uh, differential conditions in which you may find this lung mass like lymphomas, neurofibromas, even infections, inflammatory conditions, and even other conditions like solitary pleural fibromas. Then you've identified your nodules, you know about your masses. When do you see these? How do you come across them as a physician, as a pulmonologist? So you've done a CT for for another indication in a patient who's more than 35 years asymptomatic, uh, detected in a more than 35 years old while screening for lung cancer who's been an asymptomatic patient. Lung nodules or masses in an immunocompromised patient, a patient with pre-existing or current malignancy, or in a symptomatic patient detected on CT. So they can be found out in various circumstances and situations. We've already talked about the differentials. Now, again, you need thin slices. Remember, they should be less than 1.5 mm. Always review previous images. Very important for a nodule or a mass. You have a patient who's walked into your OPD in your hospital and you see a nodule or a mass. Always ask the patient for a previous film, for a previous scan, because there are times when they've remained the same size over years, and you may not have to subject your patient to further screening, further scans. Then single nodule versus largest of multiple. Type of nodule we've already talked about, solid, subsolid, which can be part solid or ground glass nodule. Then for estimating the probability, we have various assessment scores and models like the Gestalt and Brock, which focus on size, morphology, age, location, smoking, and previous history or family history of cancer. Then, when you've done your CT, you see a nodule or a mass. Now, what do you do further? What should be your plan of action? If not already done, you do a whole body PET CT. Depending upon the location, if it is a central nodular mass, you can do a bronchoscopy or a bronchoscopic guided biopsy for your patient. If it's a peripheral mass or a nodule, you can do a radial EBUS wherever it's available. Then, if it's attached to the chest wall, you can do a CT guided biopsy. Always remember, in a patient where there's a probability, when there is a significant history, you must rule out infection and you must send your sample to the microbiology to look for infection in specific subset of patients always. Then, just to summarize about the nodule and mass evaluation, we know that nodule is less than 3 centimeter, a mass is more than 3 centimeter. Shape, margin, and attenuation can help you assess malignancy risk. Types we've already talked about, solid, ground glass, and part solid. Benign criteria is your calcification, no enhancement on CT and no PET uptake, no growth over 2 years. Then doubling time when the growth is less than 400 days, possibility of malignancy is high. Doubling in less than 1 year, plus high risk factors makes it a suspicious nodule. Guidelines as per the Fleischner Society, less than 6 mm, no follow up, 6 to 8 mm follow up at 6 to 12 months, and then at 18 to 24 months. More than 8 mm, consider PET CT or biopsy in the same setting when clinically indicated. Subsolid nodules are can be transient ground glass, likely benign. Persistent subsolid have higher malignancy risk. Follow-up is required up to 5 years in these subsolid nodules. Then for diagnostic approach, remember a thin section CT slice of less than 1.5 mm, morphology plus location plus risk factors. Use PET, EBUS, and biopsy when indicated, and always rule out infection. And we have various risk stratification tools, and you need to consider size, the speculations, the location, history, smoking. Always remember to include patient's history. Always clinically correlate. Don't jump to conclusions as soon as you look at the nodule. Thank you. These were my references.